It is when you're challenged that you begin to realize what you truly are capable of. And because of the challenges of the Institute, he becomes comfortable outside of his comfort zone. And that's where he found himself, in Lowndes County, Bloody Lowndes, in the summer of 1965. His dad had been a doctor in World War II and was the hero of Jonathan Daniels' world. So maybe he wanted to kind of reflect his dad's service. But he comes to VMI and continues on with his class, graduates valedictorian of his class. And at VMI, that's a little different experience. It's not just based on your GPA, although he wore academic stars and was in Who's Who and would receive the Danforth Scholarship upon graduation. You're voted valedictorian by your brotherettes. They choose who they wish to have speak for them on their behalf at graduation. Near the end of that ceremony, we have what is now a haunting audio track of that moment of his speaking to that audience on that graduation day.
My colleagues and friends, I wish you the joy of a purposeful life. I wish you new worlds and the vision to see them. I wish you the decency and the integrity of which you are capable.
The process will continue, he was suggesting. We will continue to mature and have understanding beyond receiving this diploma today. For Daniels, it takes him to Harvard. That's his next stop to receive an advanced degree in English. And the challenges back in his family lead him to a calling in the Episcopal Church. He transfers from Harvard and goes to Cambridge Divinity School, the Episcopal Divinity School. And it was there on a Sunday evening, March the 7th, 1965. He's watching his tiny little black and white television. That was the only option in those days. And he sees in horror what all of America saw that evening. We watched as the nation watched John Lewis and about 500 other peaceful protesters brutally repulsed back across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, and that stimulated Daniels' response to be there, to do something, to not stand by and say, gee, that's too bad, to make a difference, which, by the way, is one of the character traits, I think, of VMI alumni. Martin Luther King came on later that night asking for college students to come to Alabama and help in the movement that was underway. That Thursday, Daniels boards the bus and heads to Selma. And he's there for March the 17th, when the successful march from Selma to Montgomery would take place. Most of the college students at that point head home. Okay, we've done our part, we have civil rights now, so good luck with all of that. And Daniels says, there's so much work here to be done. This is where I need to be. So this becomes Daniels' work to recruit and register African Americans to vote for the very first time. It was a Saturday morning in August the 14th. He and about 24 activists, civil rights workers, were protesting a little grocery store in a place called Fort Deposit, Alabama, in Lowndes County. Well, they were arrested and taken about 16 miles in the back of a not too clean garbage truck. A photojournalist, a fellow named Bob Price, was there. But he does capture one haunting photograph that right in the very center shows Jonathan Daniels in the group. And they then were put in rather small cells. Jonathan would share his cell with two other individuals. There were no shower facilities. There was no running water. The toilets began to back up onto the floors. Clearly there was not enough cots in the rooms. So it was not incarceration waiting judgment. The incarceration was the judgment, was the punishment. And there they remained. The days ticked by. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Finally, on Friday, the jailer comes, unlocks the door, and unceremoniously insists that everyone has to leave. You have to leave now. And he and three others went the short distance down the street to a place called the Cash Store, Varner Store. And through the screen mesh door of that country store, there's a voice that comes out, and if you come in here, I'm going to blow your head off.
And he had a gun, and it's one of these moments where you're there, but you're not there. You sort of stopped in your footsteps, but you're trying to figure out how to move.
As Ruby reaches for the handle of the door, Daniels hears that and instinctively knows that this is not a bluff. And he reaches for the back of Ruby's blouse to pull her away, saying, "We'll get our drinks elsewhere."
The next thing I knew, I was pulled backwards and I fell, literally fell.
And at that instant, the shotgun blast rips through the door.
He shot Jonathan. Jonathan never made a sound. I think he was dead instantly or in a coma instantly. And we were shattered and devastated and trying to make sense out of the loss of our friend John.
In fact, Martin Luther King, that very day when he was notified of Daniel's death, he said, "This is the most selfless act of humanity of which I have ever heard in the civil rights movement." They are now stepping. When they signed the matriculation book, Jonathan Daniels is there just a few pages back, his name, when he made that same commitment to a life-altering experience. There is a Daniels courtyard. Like Jonathan Daniels himself, is a quiet place of contemplation. It's off the beaten path, it's shielded. There's an archway that goes into the barracks, and that line from his valedictory address is on the wall. As cadets walk through that arch, they're reminded of that they're on that journey as well. Decades ago, an African-American study group called the Pramaji Club established the first Jonathan Daniels Award at VMI. And the whole purpose of that was to recognize someone who was carrying out a life of action in the realm of civil rights. That award was adopted officially by the Institute several years ago, and today is one of the highest honors that can be bestowed by the Institute.
He heard the call of Martin Luther King Jr. and he responded.
And of course, the full circle story is when John Lewis himself will be the recipient who projected Jonathan Daniels on that trajectory that took him to Alabama after Daniels had witnessed that horrific moment that John Lewis simply trying to walk across the bridge to make a point. Jonathan's life was an example of, John Lewis said, admonishing us to get in trouble, good trouble.
Good trouble, necessary trouble.
And certainly Daniel's life was filled with identifying good and necessary trouble to address. The standard that he set as a cadet and in his later life provides the current Corps and the future Corps in the 21st century with a role model.